Iceberg memes started when people in the Mario N64 community wanted a way to list information from most to least known. The top above the water being well known, and the bottom being mostly unknown. And so the Mario N64 Iceberg was born, and with that a whole genre of them covering a broad range of subjects. So I took it upon myself to make one for a show I enjoy, Tugs. I posted it to my Twitter and people really seemed to like it, surprisingly. And some people wanted further explanation to a bunch of points, so I thought I'd go through in detail what each one means. However, if you do enjoy this video, please do give it a like and share it around, and if you're feeling generous, maybe even subscribe for more content like this from me in the future. Anyway, on to the video. Tugs only ran for one series due to the company behind it going bankrupt. However, through interviews the Sodo Island fansite did with the co-creator David Mitton before his death, we know a season 2, set mostly in a new location, was being planned, with some scripts already written when the show was cancelled. In the episode Munitions, there's a dockside fire and the harbour crane Big Mickey falls into the water. He's never seen again in the episode, and while in the TV broadcast some extra lines of dialogue were added saying he was recovered, this never happened in the VHS release. So it's presumed by fans that the true ending is that Big Mickey dies. It was confirmed that in a scrapped episode for season 1 of Tugs, which would have been reused for season 2, was a diesel-powered tugboat who was treated with suspicion. You can see a red hull in Lucky's yard throughout the series, and it was confirmed by a member of the crew that the hull was the diesel tug being constructed. The diesel tug was almost made, however it was cancelled when the company went bankrupt. These two are very similar, so I'll cover them together. Though a lot of characters were made for Tugs, 4 one-off characters shared the same model, just repainted a bit. Blue Nose was turned into Sea Rogue, and Boomer was turned into Uncle. While the TV broadcast of Tugs aired at 15 minutes long, there was originally 20-minute long episodes. We have some of the 20-minute cuts due to the VHSs which were rushed out before the change, when the company behind Tugs was running out of money and needed a way to get some quick. Tugs was a show made in the UK, so when it aired in the US it was reformatted as a show called Salty's Lighthouse with animated humans. The episodes were cut up and made lighter and for younger audiences. Names and even genders were changed and new plots were made up. For example, the Futon Ferry didn't sink in Salty's Lighthouse, but rather chose to go under the water to find something it dropped. Yeah, I didn't really like this show. The Star Tugs Trust is a group which banded together to buy the original props from Tugs when they went up for sale in 2012. The group is famous in the fandom for doing this, however many dislike the trust due to how little restoration they do on the models, and how they gatekeep certain behind the scenes footage and scripts to themselves, or only paying guests at their displays in the UK. While I said before that each episode was to have a 20-minute cut, the original plan was for each one to have a 30-minute cut. As far as we know, only 2 episodes ever had 30-minute cuts, and they have never seen the light of day. In promotional images, the fire tug had a friendlier, more unfinished looking face. This, however, was changed before filming. It is unknown why or when the change took place. Railhead was a cancelled episode of Tugs which would have focused on the railways around Big City Port. Not much is known about this episode. In the episode Regatta, there is a short scene where a railway steam shovel can be seen. This is notable as it is never seen again and the prop is unlike anything else ever seen in Tugs or Thomas at the time. As a bonus, we also see in a blink and you miss it moment a railway crane in high tide. Regatta is an odd episode which is split between the 2 plots of the regatta and of Grampus being blown up. The reason for this is both plots were once 2 separate episodes which went into more detail on both of these matters before being squished into one. To expand on the last point, a lot of the scripts that were used in the episodes have parts of unused scripts inside them. These are harder to track down, however. We know this because the Star Tugs Trust have access to many unreleased scripts hidden away, and I've hinted that lots of plot points from the final episodes were in different scripts. A US dub of Tugs was made before Salty's Lighthouse to try and sell the idea to American TV stations. It is unclear how they responded to this, but by the fact we have Salty's Lighthouse, it implies that they disliked it. The only copy known to exist of the dub is owned by the Star Tugs Trust and has only been seen in special in-person events. A sizzle reel was made for Tugs. A sizzle reel is a clip of footage with narration over it explaining the TV show to networks to convince them to air it. The sizzle reel is owned by the Star Tugs Trust, but has never been shown to anyone outside of special events. We know, however, that unique music and narration and even clips that never made it into the final cut of the show were in the sizzle reel. This is due to an audio recording that someone took while at one of the events without the Trust's knowledge, and also eyewitness accounts of people who have been to the event. While Tugs has no single main character, it seems for a while it could have been 10 Cents who was the main character, as outside the studio Tugs was filmed in was a big sign of him. It is unknown why he was chosen instead of the Tugs logo. In Tugs there was often some soft flirting between Lily Lightship and Hercules. However, in the original script of Regatta, Lily says, "That delicious Hercules." This was cut, presumably due to it being a little too much for a children's show. The final 3 episodes of Tugs take place in a new location called Upriver. This was not meant to be the case, with the final 3 episodes being planned to be set in Big City Port. However, the crew making Tugs found the Big City Port set hard to film in, so they spent a lot of money to make a new one at the end of filming. Sunk was a cancelled book about Tugs. It was to be the 5th in the Buzz book line. We don't know much about it apart from its name. Big Mickey was a crane in Tugs with a megaphone. However, a face was made for him to wear, but it was never used on screen. It is unknown why he was never given this face when he already had it made. Sugar Ray was a cancelled character from the script called Episode 2. He would have been a rainbow-coloured barge and would have worked with Warrior at the sugar beet factory. Not much is known about him apart from the fact he was said to be helpful and friendly towards the Tugs. Tugs themed coin-operated rides were a thing for a short while and were made to look like the Starfleet. However, only Big Mac was ever made. You would put a coin in him and he would move. He would also play the Tugs intro. Once the company went bankrupt, he was repainted and renamed into a generic Tug called Old Toby. In the sketches and concept art for Big City Port, it is shown that a big blimp or zeppelin is flying around in the skies. However, this never made it into the show. Not much is known about the yacht. It was a specially built boat made for Tugs. It was seen in many of the behind-the-scenes images around Big City Port, however it never was seen on the screen. This one explains itself and is pretty straightforward. But while many of the unused scripts got part taken out of them for episodes, even more had the whole stories adapted into annual stories. It is unknown how close these stories were to the actual scripts. The crew have confirmed that the episode Jinxed, which was one of the last ones to air, was actually the first one to be filmed. This is made clear by the promotional image from earlier which shows the fire tug with his old face. After Big Mickey's death in the episode Munitions, he was meant to reappear in the episode Ghosts. Obviously, he was meant to be a ghost of his former self, and he would be called Snatcher. He would be in the crane inlet for rusty cranes that OJ passes in the episode. He even had a face that was made, but it never appeared. Jimbo was an abandoned concept for a tug. He was a paddle steamer like OJ, and was drawn in concept art to look very sad. Originally, Top Hat would have had a redemption arc starting with his rescue in High Tides, then leading into Munitions where everyone would have disliked his boasting, which would have been caused by his victory in High Tide. Finally, he would save OJ in quarantine and everyone would accept him again. However, due to the many changes to the quarantine script, he ended up having a minor role in it. Originally, 10 Cents was made to have a more wooden feel and no yellow paint on him. However, it is unclear if this was an unfinished look or the original plan for him, as he was the first model to be made. pictures of the two switches, 10 cents and Sunshine, were taken next to rulers, similar to the ones for Thomas the Tank Engine. These were taken for toy manufacturers to use as a reference when making the toys. In a packet of information given to the press, it was stated that Zebedee wanted to take over the Z-Stacks. However, it was later confirmed to be an error and the description was meant for Zack. Britt Allcroft and David Mitten worked together on Thomas the Tank Engine. That is why it's so surprising she later tried to sue David Mitten when he was creating Tugs. She claimed the faces were too similar to Thomas, and that's where the faces in Tugs have a different shape of eyes and the colour is a more skin-toned one compared to the one used in Thomas. In the same packet of information given to the press as before, a letter to a child who had written into the studio was attached. It was signed from Top Hat and had him in character boasting about how he was the best to write letters. Well, that's it, that's my Tugs Iceberg. Rolling on screen now will be a list of people who helped me fact check and create this iceberg, which I'm very thankful for. Please check them out on Twitter. While I think all of this is correct, if I have made any mistakes, please make sure to let me know in the comments down below. And I'll see you next time.